Right now, in the Dallas-Fort Worth market, there are homes sitting on the market for 60, 70, even 90 days, with sellers cutting prices week after week just to get a showing. And at the exact same time, just a few miles away, there are neighborhoods where a well-priced home goes pending in under a week, sometimes with multiple offers on day one. Same metro, same interest rate environment, completely different reality depending on where you are. And if you're thinking about buying and selling in Dallas-Fort Worth right now, the number that matters isn't what the overall Dallas market is doing, it's what's happening on your specific street in your specific price range. Because in this market, that difference could cost you tens of thousands of dollars or save you just as much. That's exactly what we're going to break down today. So let's jump in. My name is Selden Toole, and I'm a real estate agent here in Dallas, and I work with buyers relocating in the Metroplex and homeowners across DFW who are trying to figure out the right time and the right strategy for their next move. What I try to do on this channel is give you the same honest, data-driven read I give a client sitting across the table from me, not the polished headline, not the summary that sounds good for clicks. Just what's actually happening, neighborhood by neighborhood, so you can make a confident decision. Because in a market this layered, the information you're working with is either your biggest asset or your biggest liability. So let's make sure you have the right information. So let's start with the 30,000-foot view, and then we'll get in the neighborhood that actually matters for your decision. The median sold price across the DFW metro last month came in at $385,000. A year ago, that number was $394,000, a roughly 2.2% decline in pricing year over year. Depending on where you sit, that sounds either encouraging or concerning. But here's the problem with that number. It flattens everything. When you average together what's happening in Lakewood and what's happening in new construction suburb 45 minutes out, you get a number that tells a story that neither of those markets show accurately. Overall, about 45% of homes in the DFW metro sold below asking price last month. That tells you something different. Buyers have at least some leverage in a lot of the transactions right now, but that leverage is not evenly distributed. In some zip codes, buyers are still writing offers above the list price. In others, sellers are sitting on their listing for 3 months and eventually dropping $30,000 just to generate interest. The rule of thumb I always use with clients, under 3 months of inventory and you're in a seller's market territory. Over 6 months and buyers are firmly in control. Right now, different parts of Dallas are on completely different ends of the spectrum. That's what we're going to map. So let's do what the headlines never do. Let's go micro. I want to start with the markets that are cooling, because if you're a buyer, this is where your real opportunity lives right now. Celina and Prosper are sitting in roughly 5 to 6 months of inventory right now. Homes here are averaging 50 to 60 days to go pending, and some sellers are waiting 6 to 8 weeks just to get their first offer. Now, these neighborhoods have historically been strong markets. The highway access is there, the employment centers aren't far, and the schools are solid. But two things change the dynamic in a hurry: new construction and builder incentives. The builders have been developing heavily out here. Celina and Prosper have led the nation in new construction activity over the past decade. And they're not just offering competitive pricing on brand new homes, they're offering rate buydowns, closing cost coverage, even free design upgrades on certain communities. So when a buyer can get a new home with a warranty and a lower effective interest rate right down the street, resale listings have to compete a lot harder. A lot of them aren't winning that competition right now. So what does that mean for you? If you're a buyer here, you have real tangible leverage. Looking for listings that have been sitting 40, 50 plus days. Look for homes that have already taken a price cut, or ones that came back on the market after falling out of contract. Those sellers have recalibrated. They've been through the frustration of watching other deals come and go, and they're making far more realistic about what's going to take to get it closed. And that's your window. Also, don't sleep on the resale homes that are competing directly with new construction. If a buyer knows there's a builder community half a mile away with incentives, they know they need to make concessions. Use that dynamic. If you're a seller here, I'm going to be straight with you. Price, condition, and presentation aren't optional right now. They're the entire game. If your home looks tired next to a model home down the street, you're going to sit. Buyers are making direct comparisons, and they have options. We need a strategy before you list, not after. Frisco and McKinney are showing a similar story. 4 to 5 months of inventory, homes averaging 45 to 55 days on market before going pending. This one has a slightly different dynamic driving it. In addition to new construction pressure, this market has seen a real increase in HOA cost on a lot of the existing communities. higher dues, stricter restrictions, buyers are factoring that in their monthly payment calculation. And some are walking away from properties they'd otherwise love because the total cost of ownership just does not pencil the way that it used to. The opportunity for buyers here, especially if you have some flexibility on cosmetics, is older, more dated homes when the sellers know they can't compete on finishes. They can't afford to stage it like a model home, and they're pricing it to move it. If you're willing to go in and paint, refresh the kitchen, and do some light work after closing, you can buy into a solid location at a real discount. For sellers here, the same message I gave in the first market. The small stuff is going to become big stuff once a buyer gets through the inspection and starts looking for negotiating leverage. Deferred maintenance, worn trim, aging mechanicals, handle those before you list. It's almost always cheaper to fix it yourself than to give credit after inspection because buyers tend to price repairs at retail when they're asking for concessions. So go ahead and get ahead of it. Forney in the Far East Dallas corridor round out the softer side of the ledger, 5 months of inventory, pending 55 to 65 days on average. And here's the local dynamic worth understanding. Forney exploded with new construction during the pandemic boom years and is now absorbing that supply with a buyer pool that got smaller as rates climbed. At the same time, Dart's Silver Line, scheduled to open this year, is just starting to factor into some buyers' decision for the commuters. But the practical impact hasn't fully shown up in prices yet. The resale condo and townhome product is stacking up particularly fast here, with months of supply in that category well above the single-family numbers. The through line across all of these cold markets has the same. Supply is up, buyers have options, and the sellers who win are the one who accept reality before they hit the market, not 2 months into a listing that's going nowhere. For buyers, these three areas combined represent some of the best negotiating conditions we've seen in DFW in a while, so don't overlook them. And now let's flip it because not every corner of Dallas is cooling off. There are neighborhoods right now where the market is as competitive as it's ever been. Lakewood and East Dallas are leading that list. This area is sitting about 1.5 to 2 months of inventory, sometimes less, and homes that are priced right now are showing up pending around 20 to 25 days, and sometimes even faster. The homes here are established, and the lots are mature, and the streets are tree-lined, and the long-term owners who live here aren't selling unless they have a real reason to. That combination keeps supply chronically tight, almost regardless of what the interest rates are doing. The median sold price in Lakewood last month was $1.6 million, up 20% year over year, and that number has always been trending up. If you're a buyer targeting Lakewood, you need to be ready to move the minute the right home hits the market. If it's priced correctly, in good condition, on a great block, you don't have a week to think about it. So get your pre-approval locked, know your walkaway number going in, and be prepared to write a clean, competitive offer. Hesitation in this market costs you the house, and I've seen it happen more times than I can count. Uptown at Oak Lawn, same dynamics, different reasons. Around 2 months of inventory, homes going pending in 25 to 35 days. But what drives this market is pure lifestyle demand. Walkability, proximity to downtown, the restaurants, Katy Trail. This is where a very specific, very motivated buyer profile wants to live. And that buyer profile tends to be employed in strong industries, financially capable, in some cases bringing cash or near cash offers. Average home prices in Uptown are running about $700,000, with Oak Lawn closer to $550,000, and neither of those numbers are moving down. A townhome I represented near the Katy Trail last month had 3 offers by day 4. The winning buyer waived the financing contingency and offered a 21-day close. And that is what this market looks like when a well-priced, well-located property comes available. For buyers in Uptown, know your competition. Some of these buyers don't need financing contingencies, so talk to your lender about what you can do to strengthen your offer just beyond price. Faster closing timelines, flexible possession dates, limited contingency periods. Strength in the offer structure can sometimes win over a slightly higher competing number. North Oak Cliff, especially areas near Bishop Arts, round out the competitive side, sitting around 2 to 2.5 months of inventory, pending in roughly 20 to 30 days, with median prices around $445,000. And here's what makes that market move fast. It's one of the only places left in Dallas where you can buy an architecturally distinctive home, mature trees, hilly topography, real neighborhood character, at a price point that still seems relative to Lakewood and Uptown. And buyers who've been priced out of these markets are finding their way here. The neighborhood has absorbed a meaningful wave of buyers who initially targeted Frisco, Plano, and recalculated. Once they saw that we can get North Oak Cliff for 400 or 500 grand compared to cookie cutter suburban homes 40 minutes out, it's a pretty easy decision. If a home here is priced correctly and shows well, it moves. It's the simplest way I can put it. Don't assume you have time to run these numbers for 3 days and circle back. You probably don't. But before I get into buyer and seller strategy, I want to spend a minute on interest rates, because this is a thing I hear about more often than anything else when I talk to buyers right now. A lot of people are waiting for interest rates to drop below 6% before they feel comfortable making a move. And I understand that instinct completely. Higher rates change the monthly payment math in a real way, and that matters. For context, the 30-year fixed rate this week was 6.37, down from 6.62 a year ago. And that sits well above the historical lows we know we saw in 2020 and 2021. But here's what the waiting strategy is actually costing you. The buyers sitting on the sideline right now, waiting for that rate number, are the exact buyers who are going to flood back into the market the moment rates move. And when that happens, competition comes back. Multiple offers come back, seller leverage comes back, and the negotiating room you have in the cold markets I just described, that disappears. And here's why that matters even more. The rate you buy today is not the rate you're stuck with for 30 years. Most buyers I work with who buy in this environment are planning to refinance when rates come down. You're buying the home permanently, you're dating the rate temporarily. But buyers who are going to look back in this window and feel good about their decisions are the ones who focused on the right home in the right neighborhood and at a fair price, not the ones who tried to time it perfectly on the rate sheet. Nobody times it perfectly. What you can control is the deal that you negotiate today. So all right, let's get tactical. If you're a buyer in DFW right now, here's how I'd first approach it. First, back on the market listings. When a home falls out of contract and comes back on the market, most buyers assume there's something wrong with it. And sometimes, sure, but most of the time the deal dies because of financing issues and not the home itself. The home has lost its momentum and is negotiating leverage. Come in with a reasonable offer and you may be surprised at how motivated the seller is. Second, days on market is your leverage indicator. A listing that's been sitting for 40 or 50 days had a seller who has had time to reset their expectations. They've had the conversations with their agent. They know what's happening. Make your move. There's room to negotiate. And third, homes that next to new construction. If a resale home is competing directly with builder communities down the street, the builder knows it. They're already aware of the distinct advantages that finishes and incentives have. So use that advantage when you're structuring your offer. Fourth, don't write off overpriced listings. A home that's $15,000 over the market but hasn't had a price cut yet isn't necessarily a dead end. It's been sitting and the seller often quietly more flexible than the list price suggests. A well-structured, reasonable offer can offer a conversation that a lot of buyers never expected to have. And fifth, ask builders what they're offering. If a new construction is something that you're open to, don't walk into a model home without asking specifically about their incentive programs. Right now, about 70% of new home sales in DFW include some form of rate buy down or structured incentive, effectively getting buyers closer to a 5.5% rate. And get that in writing and have the agent at the table with you. And if you're thinking about selling or you know you need to sell, here's the straight talk. Price to your micro market and not the metro. What the DFW median is doing doesn't tell you what the specific block or your specific price point or what your specific product type can actually bear. Those are three different filters and they all matter. I can put that data on your exact home in about 20 minutes and it changes the strategy completely. Your home has to hold up to the new construction buyers want. 2026 have walked model homes. They've seen the stage interiors, the new appliances, the quartz countertops. If your home looks dated by comparison, not just style dated, but maintenance dated, buyers are going to use that as a reason to negotiate or walk away. Fresh paint, clean landscaping, working fixtures, and no obvious deferred items. Those are cheap relative to what they cost you in negotiation. And that's one thing that's become a bigger factor than most sellers expect: insurance. Buyers are now having to ask about roof age, HVAC age, and other major components before they even write an offer, because those items directly affect what they'll have to pay to insure the home. If you got a 15-year-old roof, then that's going to come up. So get ahead of it and do the prep work before you list. Every issue you know is going to slow down the inspection report, becomes a negotiating chip for the buyer. Usually priced at a premium. And this is because buyers always estimate repair costs high. So fix the small stuff on your timeline at your cost, and it can't be used against you. Dallas isn't one market, but it's dozens of micro markets, all moving at different speeds, all responding to different pressure. And that's actually good news because it means there's a strategy that works for your situation, whether you're buying or selling, relocating, or trying to understand what your home is worth right now. If you want to know exactly where your neighborhood sits, the real months of inventory, the real days on market, and what you can actually expect in this environment, feel free to call or text me anytime. I'd love to give you an honest local trend and help you make a confident move in one of the fastest growing cities in the country. So hit subscribe if you thought this was helpful. I put out regular market updates, neighborhood breakdowns, and real straight talk about the DFW real estate market every week. I'll see you on the next one.